Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Watches and Style channel. We are back with something different, something old and new, with my friend Dizordis, who is joining us from Jerusalem. How are you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. Thank you. How are you doing?
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm so happy that we got back together for this project specifically, where we talk movies together. And I was lucky this time. One, because you dropped by one of my live streams a couple of days ago, like with this unquenchable thirst of talking about this movie, one battle after another. And I also, give it was given this YouTube partner perk, which was a free movie ticket. So I was looking for something to spend it on at any rate, and this was just a beautiful opportunity. And to boot, British GQ tapped me again to talk about Leonardo DiCaprio's link up with Rolex and the kind of pieces that he wore over the years, right before, right after, and also during his time as a Rolex testimony. So I was actually um, able to collaborate with Vivian Morelli again, and I'll post about this later on Instagram as well. But it basically quotes me very favorably, but also, totally. Um, I mean, basically uses the entire thing that I wrote, which I found very actually flattering. So I
Mm.
wanted to share that, a little bit of a self plug there. But more importantly, I'm really happy to have you on the channel again, because we have, I think, discussed Scarface in such a suggestive and um, original way. I think there is something more to come out of this collaboration.
Mm. Hopefully. Thank you. Thanks for having me, man. I was happy.
And for some reason, I'm not surprised that once again it's a very I mean, it's a very beautiful movie, but it's also a very political movie. At least, in Scarface, politics were perhaps more of an undercurrent. Here, it's pretty much the anchoring theme, and we will have much to say about that. But I want to start by just thinking about Paul Thomas Anderson and his filmmaking. I'll say something simple. Of course, in the latter part of this live stream, we will talk about many scenes and events in detail from the movie. So, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched the movie and if you want to watch it soon enough, you can stop now and come back to this live stream when you have watched the movie. We would very much appreciate your comments and reactions then. Uh, but if you want to join us on this ride, whether you have watched the movie or not, I'm very happy to have you in the chat. Feel free to send in your questions. We have a very humble goal of um, 5 super chats of $5 or more. So if we reach that goal, we'll be able to answer those questions that you send in with the super chats at the end of the stream. Coming back to this idea, the reason I really like Paul Thomas Anderson's filmmaking, beyond his particular use of the camera, and his vision, is his ability to tackle these grand political and historical subjects with a certain lightness, with a very unique sense of humor as well. And I was uh, very happy to see it here. My favorite movie by him is There Will Be Blood. And again, that's a very serious movie, but it has also those moments of comic relief, um, whether it is intended by the characters or not. And I was I was also intrigued to have found out that this movie, even though it is not based one-to-one on this novel, was inspired and loosely based on Thomas Pynchon's Vineland, which is actually a novel that I haven't read, but I am otherwise familiar with Pynchon's work, and I really like V. And, you know, somehow I wasn't surprised, right? You know, not only because Paul Thomas Anderson is very much invested in making this American epic, so to speak. So I'm not surprised that he adapts another American novel in some way, but also Pynchon has a similar style, right? You know, he talks about very serious things, but he is also extremely funny. So I was very happy to discover that.
If I'm not mistaken, I read that the book, the novel, deals with Nixon, the Nixon administration. Is that, you know, that's
Reagan.
Reagan? Reagan. Okay.
So it's set, again, having not read the book and just looked at a summary of it. It's set in the time of the Reagan administration and kind of has these flashbacks to the 60s and that revolutionary mindset of the 60s. So you can see how basically we fast forwarded time. Paul Thomas Anderson transplanted us to something more solidly grounded in the present here.
Interesting. Yeah, I can see how that works. Okay.
What are your, you know, again, before we start talking about these, you know, gritty details and nuances, what are your general impressions about this movie?
Well, when I watched it, my first thought while watching it, actually, somewhere a bit like in middle of the movie, was like, I'm watching a really long Fargo season, you know. Like, okay, Fargo, obviously it's an originated movie, right, by the Coen brothers, but it became a show that I really like. Did you watch the shows?
I have not watched the shows. I've watched the original movie, but I haven't watched the show, actually.
Highly recommend it. Not all seasons are created equal, but it's good. So that's how I felt. I can't really go, like, you know, go into details, but it's, I would say I went out with like 3 out of 5, okay, and now it's like 3.5 out of 5. It took me time to get invested. Again, in the middle of the movie, sometime I started like really, you know, be on the edge of the seat. But in terms of like feeling, I don't know, something towards the characters, I didn't feel anything. I just enjoyed the action, not the message or whatever. There was an attempt to make a message, not because of the political attempt, right? And yeah, let's explore exactly what I'm trying to say in our discourse here. What about you?
You know, I will just, you know, speak to something you said, which I find very suggestive, that parallel between Fargo and or like the universe of Fargo and the universe of One Battle After Another. You know, that's I said something very general, like, you know, Paul Thomas Anderson is very interested in these comedic epic versions of American history, and in a way, this particular setting takes us to what is actually very much an every town of the U.S. Not quite at the center, but not necessarily a backwater town either. So perhaps that's one of the reasons why, you know, you were reminded, in the sense we were in a rural location, still somehow affected by the central historical undercurrents of what makes United States such a specific historic phenomenon, but also in a location that seems very pastoral, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I think, again, it was the pacing of the movie was really interesting, right? You would, on the one hand, one might be surprised when you said, like, I'm going to translate a little bit when you said I watched it as an action movie, as it were. But, I'm not actually surprised by that, because it had a very interesting pace that was very explosive in the beginning. If you excuse me for the pun. After all, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Bob, plays an improvised explosive device expert in this revolutionary group, the French 75, I think they were called.
Yes.
French 75.
Yes.
And then, we have this lull in action for a little bit, because we are thrown ahead in time, where we now see Bob as completely burnt out, almost fried, but certainly half-baked half the time, or even most of the time. Still clinging to some of his revolutionary ideals, but not with the same kind of consistency and devotion. Certainly, one of the little details that I caught on and that I really liked is how he was getting stoned watching Gillo Pontecorvo's famous Battle of Algiers. One of the biggest and most important political movies of our time. But again, even that scene, right, speaks to something you said, right? He's watching this very serious, very artful, but also very strongly political movie. But he's not on the edge of his seat, really. Like, he's barely there. He's more interested in vaping anxiously, or smoking his joint. He's just vibing, ultimately. Still, of course, immensely protective of his daughter. And that daughter, of course, reminds him of his partner, who from whom he's estranged for a number of reasons, whom he obviously misses in his life, but is also betrayed by, again, in at least two ways, right? One, obviously, as a new mother, again, for a complicated set of reasons. She's not really interested in staying with the family, wants to continue that revolutionary lifestyle. But then when things go south, when in that botched bank robbery they get caught, she also ends up being the snitch, being the rat, which, of course, unfolds in disastrous consequences for everyone else involved in the operation, in the enterprise that is French 75, that ends up, getting a lot of the members of the group killed, and many others it sends on a run. It sends out on a run.
Mm-hmm.
So it's interesting. It's a very political movie, but until it's packed with action at the very beginning and at the end, and that action doesn't leave us actually for too long, because again, before long, they're discovered again. Their past comes back to haunt them. Their arch enemy comes back to stage, and that's a character played by Sean Penn, And I remember when we talked about this movie in a very vague and general way, you know, you were when I talked about Leonardo DiCaprio and his performance, you were like, "What about Champagne? What about Champagne?" So I want you to talk a little bit about Champagne and his character, Colonel Stephen Lockjaw.
Okay. Before that, I just want to
Of course,
say about the robbery, the bank robbery after the mother. Yeah, what's her name? Beverly. I don't remember the name of the character.
Perfidia Beverly Hills.
Yeah. So
Perfidia Beverly Hills.
that robbery after she leaves Bob and the baby, it's a very violent robbery in which we see her actually killing a police, a security guard. And you remember that, right? She shoots.
Who is black?
He's black, right?
And that matters, right? You know, again, we are zooming in maybe a little too quickly, but Tiana Taylor's character, Perfidia Beverly Hills, when she first shoots him, she doesn't shoot to kill, so she keeps pointing the gun at him and keeps saying, "Stop moving," right? You know, gradually getting angrier and more anxious, because it seems like, you know, she feels like she's betraying something there, because ultimately, you know, that's just another person doing their job, right? You know, his job is protecting that bank and the people there, whereas she thinks she is serving a greater cause, but at the expense of what, right? That's one of the interesting scenes, but please continue.
Yes, I mean, in the end, okay, we're not. She decides to go on with it, to finish it, and yeah. So regarding Sean Penn, which is his name is Lockjaw, is a colonel. Do you remember the rank? I don't remember the rank, but I think it's a colonel.
I don't know if he starts as a colonel, but certainly as with the success of this operation, he ends up as a colonel, and he is also, you know, he's an immigration enforcer, right, at the beginning.
Yes. So in the beginning, I think that overall in the entire movie, you don't really, didn't see him as a person, but more as an instrument of a government, of a big power, which in the beginning was introduced by, how can I say this, by an erection, right? The character Beverly,
Perfidia Beverly Hills.
Yeah. She aims the gun at him and tells him,
get up,
get up, and by what she means is, get hard, like
she literally says that, get up, and I don't mean by that stand up.
Yeah,
get her up,
and that's saying something. I'm thinking about Boogie Nights. I'm thinking about, sexual, reversing the sexual power, blah blah blah, something like that. That's one of the layers that
you're absolutely right. I'm gonna just say one sentence. Remember, later in the movie, Lockjaw will say, "I was inversely raped."
Yeah,
about their sexual encounter. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah. Semen Demon, also, if you remember that.
That's what they called Tiana Taylor's character, Perfidia.
Yes. In general, I'm gonna say, like, he's not an instrument. You don't see a person. Like, he serves. I see. He serves no. Like, he has no. How can I say? He's just a soldier, right? And he's there to do what he's supposed to do, and he has no character of his own. Like, he does have, like, he's a bad guy, right? But he's just there to feel some, I don't know, to achieve some kind of something.
I don't fully agree, but I certainly see your point, because there are so many aspects to that Lockjaw character, starting with
Mhm.
his absurdly funny name, Lockjaw,
Yeah. Yeah.
which is an ongoing theme, right? From Perfidia Beverly Hills to Jungle Pussy to Lockjaw, it's all very sexually charged, and at times comical names that
Mhm.
almost sound like code names in the case of the revolutionary group. But in the case of Lockjaw, yes, there are so many aspects of him that are caricature-like, right? The way he
Yes.
walks, the way
Yes.
he talks, the way he
Yeah.
styles
His hair.
his hair. There's so much that makes him look like a caricature more than a character with some serious psychological depth. So I think I mostly agree with you, but I think there's also an aspect of that, and that's why I wanted to say as the first thing. I think there's this thread of seriousness, this continued exploration of what is a very grave subject, right? Can we change the world? Should we even bother to try when there are
Mm.
all these forces, mostly government forces, working against us? But it does that not in a hectoring tone. It doesn't do that in the form of a lecture. There's always some aspect of it that uh, turns it into a joke, right? That's from the depiction of the characters to even their naming. I think that's something that carries through the movie. But one of the things that maybe I don't want to move on to this yet. Did you have something more to add about Colonel Lockjaw and Champagne's rendition of
Well,
that character?
I just felt like he was flat as a character, but that was the intention, not like not an oversight of writing, but just to present him as an instrument of the fascist, regime, and that I think that he has done that role exceptionally. Like I
Right.
really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Yeah. Again, to just fill in the gaps, since we are giving away spoilers, if you're watching it at this point, again, want to watch the movie, turn it off. You can always come back later. But they encounter this character. Again, the movie starts with an action-packed scene where this revolutionary group is trying to break out immigrants from a detention center, which is overseen by Lockjaw, Champagne's character. And there is something about, again, I wasn't really familiar with Tiana Taylor beyond uh, her music and beyond pining for her myself, but she was exceptional in rendering this sexual charge of the revolutionary act, right? Whether that was in terms of the way that she imposed her power when she first encountered Lockjaw and when she uh, took him captive, but that's also very much present in the relationship and in the passion that binds uh, her character, binds Perfidia to Leonardo DiCaprio's character, who is called Pat Calhoun at the beginning, right? Before he
Yeah.
gets this other code name, Ghetto Pad, or Rocket Man, as he is also called, since he is an
Mm.
explosive device expert, right? And
Yeah.
she sees in unexpectedly this interesting revolutionary energy in him as well, because when they break out those immigrants from the detention center, and these explosives and fireworks start going out, Pat starts ranting, in English and broken Spanish, in these revolutionary slogans,
Mm.
starts screaming at his lungs. Viva la Revolución and everything, and she somehow is impressed by that more than the fact that, like, he was um, very successful in implementing that explosive part of the operation, and starts making out with him immediately, in that
Mm.
drive away vehicle. So
Mhm.
I thought that was something in the movie that I really enjoyed, in the way that, especially Tiana Taylor's character, uh, embodied that sexual charge of the revolutionary movement. That was also present in the bank robbery, right? When Jungle Pussy jumps on the desks and starts, giving this whole speech, in fact, about,
Mhm.
how she is what power looks like, right? This
Mhm.
black woman is what power looks like, and that, again, uh, comically and tragically, is that's a speech that's cut by that gunfire, right? But by that gunshot where Perfidia Beverly Hills shoots the security guard for the first time. So
Mhm.
I was really impressed, as much as I was impressed by this comical light touch on the general gravity of the political subject matter. I was really impressed also by the exploration of the sexual dimensions of their revolutionary ideal, in the character and actions of Perfidia Beverly Hills.
Mhm. The movie opens very like sexually, if that's like in the beginning I was thinking, I mean, wow, this guy's horny. Like there's so much talk of sex and sexual acts, but it tones down quite quickly. I don't know what he's trying to say, but it's yeah, it was
But
interesting.
again, that's I think that in and of itself touches on, I think, his peculiar touch on handling these sorts of serious subjects in the way that, you don't, um, there's a certain tendency to think that everyone who is fully committed to a political ideal is very stoic, you know um,
Mhm.
rid of all sorts of uh, everyday passions, um, distance from the simple pleasures of human life, very Spartan in its existence. That's how we stereotypically think
Mhm.
about the political militant, and whatever they are, they're not that, right? The characters we see in, again, Pat Calhoun, Perfidia, Jungle Pussy, and others, they are not, they're normal people, they're relatable people, simply
Mhm.
because they are imperfect, right? They are conceited, they are horny, they are, they lack self-awareness, right?
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
like the kind of uh, you know like the whole movie, in fact, like, during the extent of the movie, uh, it's like an extended ribbing on Pat Calhoun, or Bob, being a white boy, basically enamored with, Spanish and Latino political ideals, and
Mhm.
enamored again by black woman,
Mhm.
which, when it's thrown back at him, right, he finds very unsettling, very strange. Remember, again, when Sean Penn's character Lockjaw accosts him randomly when he is buying stuff for his daughter as a
Yeah.
young father. um, he starts like, I love black women, don't you? And like, he's terrified by that. But is he terrified of how strange, how weird Lockjaw is, or is he also terrified because that kind of touches on some of his own desires and inner inner psyche, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ryan. Please hit the like button, people, if you haven't already. We really appreciate your support, any form of support. Just you being there, contributing in the chat, commenting, sending in your questions, ideally with a super chat. But if in the absence of all that, please hit the like. Please subscribe if you have followed the link from our respective Instagram accounts. We are only halfway through. Maybe we will even go a little longer, but we still have much to discuss.
Mm-hmm. So we're at the point where we jump 16 years in the future, so more or less, right?
Yeah.
And we don't know exactly which year it takes place in, but probably around our time.
It feels very much like our present, right?
Yeah,
You might. Yeah.
And there's no mention, some point, no mention of who's in charge, who's in the White House. There's no, just it's so ambiguous, like, and that's a good thing, obviously. That's
right.
But you can have your thoughts about it, of course. But I like that it's not pronounced. It's not like it happens in a different dimension.
No, it's important because again, like it's a loose adaptation. It's an influence, really, more broadly, but it is based, on a novel that actually has a very specific time frame, speaking about the Reagan era. Really, in this case, you find a lot that speaks to the present, that speaks to the political present in One Battle After Another. But that being said, like you very deftly discovered, that there's no specific definition of what kind of political regime this is, whether it is something futuristic or something we are experiencing now or in the past, whether it is 41, 43, we don't know, right? We encounter political power in the form of its enforcers, in the form of, in fact, the immigration authorities, right? The La Migra, as they are called later, quite specifically by the characters in the movie towards the end. But yeah, there's a feeling that it is the present, but it's not named. It is not specified. The other, of course, the other arm of that power, of that political power that we didn't talk about yet, beyond the military itself, the mercenaries, which seem to be working in a strange collaboration where we can barely tell one from the other. There's also this secret fraternity, this underground organization of sorts, literally underground organization.
Yeah.
That's called the Christmas Adventurers. What did you think about that?
Well, that was the most scary aspect of the movie.
Yeah.
These people, I mean, I mean, in the end, I don't like. I have to go to the end to say that.
No problem. We did spoilers already, so.
I mean, they're Nazis, basically, modern day Nazis.
Certainly white supremacists, and they make no excuses about that.
Yeah, just the methods which we will discuss, remind me to discuss by the end, is very, reminiscent of the Nazi methods.
Of course.
You know what I'm referring to.
Yeah, which
Uh,
were, by the way, again, we can go into historical detail there, but there has been historical research that connects uh, Jim Crow America to the Nazi regime, right? How the Nazis were in fact influenced by some of the methods of racial discrimination, segregation in the United States to fine tune their own ideology. But we can get to that in due time. But yeah, this secret organization, again, to which Lockjaw is seeking membership. It's all the so-called good old boys, exclusively white men, mostly quite old, by the way, which is appropriate in the sense that, again, we have figures from the so-called revolutionary group that are taken lightly in the same way, ribbed in the same way, rendered comical in the same way. So I don't think it's unfair to turn, the right wingers, to caricatures as well. And we already talked a little bit about Lockjaw in that way. But they come to him with very specific demands. Obviously, Lockjaw seeks them out for membership, but what they want from him is an unadulterated racial purity, right? They ask him all these questions about his previous associations, whether he has been, ever involved in an interracial relationship, whether he has, he has ever had sex with someone from another race, a black woman specifically, which becomes important again, going back to that sexualized, not tension, because that would be treating it too lightly, but that sexualized dynamic between Perfidia and Lockjaw. And he lies to them outright, right? Because he knows his own indeficiencies, and he knows what he did, and we get a sense from it too. But I wanna hear from you. I want to hear about what you think happened, and maybe what led to that moment. Because yes, we did say that French 75 raided the detention center. They took Lockjaw captive, but then they left him there, right? So at that moment, nothing of there's no sexual encounter that we can speak of between Lockjaw and Perfidia Beverly Hills. What happens after, as much as you can recall, and I can fill in the details as well.
I think first that when they interview him, right, in that hotel, and they want to make sure that he's pure, and they also, of course, ask if his parents are Gentile, right, if they're not Jewish. So
right,
have that angle as well. It's important to mention. But they really, it's like, okay, I'm gonna say it might sound a little bad, but in this dimension, in this they focus first on other groups that are not the Jews, okay, on the, I don't know, the immigrants. It's just an interesting thought I had. Now, regarding Lockjaw, what happens to him? How he I mean, of course, let's tell like he meets with Perfidia, and they have some kind of sexual encounter. First she's arrested in the bank robbery, in the botched robbery, right?
Yeah.
And then the deal to get out, right, is actually the sexual relationship and a type of witness program where she goes into.
Mm-hmm.
You watched it a few days ago. I watched it 2 weeks ago, so tell me if I'm trying to jog my
No,
memory.
you're completely right. Of course, again, a lot of their operations before that bank robbery depends on placing explosive devices at strategic public centers.
Yeah.
And he basically catches her in the act, but already promises her well before the bank robbery that he is willing to basically look away from whatever she's doing. And I think he says something like, you can blow up whatever you want, but you are going to meet me at this motel and give me back
Yes.
my gun. Right? Again, that sexualized power dynamic, right? You know, he wants to reclaim his gun, which is essentially you know, a similar appendage to his penis, which Perfidia basically remote controlled to the point of humiliation at their first encounter. And you know, they basically have sex, and we are given the hints already then, even though we don't get to know for sure until towards the end of the movie, towards the final act of the movie, so to speak. But we get the idea that, hey, he could be the father of this young woman that we are seeing some 16 years into the future. But that happens before the bank robbery, and then they get caught in the bank robbery, which and specifically Perfidia gets caught, and in the same way, he says, hey, if you recognize me, if you tell me how much you desire me and you need me, I will work out the deal to let you go, but you have to give up your comrades as well.
So in that angle, I want to say that the Lockjaw, I think, is presented as a very hypocritical and opportunistic character. Hypocritical because when he goes to the Christmas adventures, right? I don't like I don't like blacks. But actually he desires black women. Okay, he's I don't know if he's in love with Perfidia, but and he's opportunistic. Yeah, it's right. He doesn't really care about the things he's doing. He just wants to get into a position of power, over people and over women. Right? He doesn't care. I don't think he cares if they're black. Like, he likes her because she's black. I mean, other reasons, but there's something also by the reason of her, race or color or whatever you want to call it. Like, he's,
but
again going back to what
he was willingly humiliated. Like, it's a very particular kind of sexual fantasy, right? He wants to be in power. He wants to come into a position of political influence with the help of this secret organization. However, he actually wants to be submissive to a black woman when it comes to his sexual desires, which we don't know anything else about. All we know about his sexuality is his burning passion for black women in general and for this black woman in particular. And whatever we see from the sex they have had, it's comical, yes, but it's not completely untrue. It might be, in fact, the truest thing Lockjaw says in its interrogation, or interview with the Christmas adventurers. it looks like he's getting raped. And I mean, it's not exactly that because it's consensual, right?
Yeah.
But he is certainly playing out that very dark fantasy of being dominated by a woman, and by a black woman in particular.
Mhm.
So he's very hypocritical, right? Because
Yeah.
that's basically all he desires. But he also wants to be a white representative of power at the same time.
Yes. Yes, but I don't think he really cares about what he's doing with this body, right? Again, he just wants the power. You know, first you get the power, then you get the win. You know, so paraphrasing.
First, you get the money, yeah.
First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get the women, right? So, yeah. And by the way, Tony Montana is mentioned in the movie. You remember when Perfidia is firing that machine gun? She's pregnant,
Yeah,
and she says, "I feel like Tony Montana."
yeah.
So,
That's
yeah.
and it's that's exactly it. That's exactly it.
Mhm.
And of course, one of the beautiful things about that was also that Chase Infinity's character as well, like, has a
Daughter.
similar scene later on,
Yes.
and she's wearing, I figured, the same boots as well, same kind of boots
Oh.
as Perfidia as well. So like it's very interesting. But yeah, they're both gangster like Tony Montana. I guess that's one of the references.
Yeah. So yeah, so I guess like luxury. I mean, yeah, he just wants the power, right? And he wants the sex with the beautiful black woman. Um, and yeah, I said he's opportunistic because he lies to those Christmas adventurers who are very, very ideological. They care a lot about, your race, your religion. They are very extremely powerful people who are. It's suggested like we understand that they are in control of
Mm.
the U.S., the United States, the government.
Yeah,
It's not
that's what it's
explicitly,
implied.
but they are in power of the person who is in the White House. We are not aware of who that is, but they run the show. So ultimately, the Nazis run the show, and that's the
And also to add to what you said earlier as well, I think one of the reasons that we peek into that interview and kind of the details of their mindset is to connect those threads. I think, to connect those dots, right? Because you could, if we only saw power, political power in this movie, the government power, we would have perhaps thought that it's only the immigrants who are targeted, and it's especially the Latinos who are targeted, right? You see towards the end when Bob is with the sensei, right, with
Benicio del Toro.
Benicio del Toro's character, but what was his
Excellent role in that.
Yeah, Sergio San Carlos. This is his name. But San Carlos, in that dialogue, like, he Bob says something like, why don't they let us go? Why don't they let us be? Like, why always me, and something like that. And he basically tells them to lay off the pipe, and he says, like, we have been under siege for hundreds of years. You are just scratching the surface in terms of how you are facing this persecutional aspect of the power. But then again, when we see the Christmas adventurers, again, as comical as they are, like what was it, like, Hail Saint Nicholas or something, whatever bullshit with Christmas carols playing in the background. It's
Yeah.
just it's ridiculous. But obviously, all they want is a white Christmas, as as they as they put it in the song. But
Mm.
without getting distracted, I mean, that's the idea, right? That they have an all-encompassing ideology that is also directed against the Jews. That's also directed against the blacks. That's what we see in this whole idea of, like, you are Gentile born, and you have never been in an interracial relationship. You have you come from this pure racial stock, so you deserve to be one of us and share in the machinations of our power. I think that's they serve the purpose of giving us this a peek onto the underbelly of the kind of political power depicted in this movie. It's not only the military. It's not only these brutal policing, persecutional, and even judiciary apparatuses of political power, but there's also something more sinister and more devious, and in fact more programmatic and ideological behind it all.
Mm-hmm. And I want to also discuss there's a bounty hunter character, Avanti,
Yeah,
the guy who. So I think we are in the last hour, like the hour of the film now.
just to tie that plot point, and I will hand it to you. Obviously, his lie is discovered. Lockjaw's lies are basically laid bare. But before that even happens, he wants to get ahead of it. Find his lost daughter, because even if we don't know for sure, he has that on his mind, and he wants to get ahead of it and quote unquote solve that problem before the Christmas adventurers discover it. But they actually discover it before he has the opportunity to get to his daughter, get to Willa. And also, especially, he is botching that in so many different ways, because he takes the entire military machinery to lay the entire town to siege, and obviously that becomes a whole public problem which Christmas adventurers need to solve, along with the facts of Lockjaw and his out of wedlock, racially impure daughter.
Mm-hmm.
So they sent after them a mercenary of their own, but you're talking about the mercenary who basically unraveled the dispersed post-bank robbery existence of the French 75 by
Yes,
apprehending
he's
one of its members.
yes, I believe he's called Avanti. The character is
Yeah,
a Native American
you're absolutely right.
who has a exceptional sense of tracking down people, and he's a bounty hunter. But also the whole, like, he's Native American. He knows the land. He knows, like, there's something. What's the word I'm looking for? Something. I don't know what to explain, but it's something like out of the ordinary, I guess.
Almost supernatural.
Yes,
You can say
supernatural,
that.
which is tied to and something I want to touch on, the desert, right? The hinterland, not out of the city, and that we will get to that in a few.
Yeah.
So, he in the end he ends up having Willa, Bob's daughter, right? Lockjaw's daughter, and Perfidia's daughter, in his custody. And because Lockjaw, uh, he does not want to execute her by himself, right? He doesn't want to do the dirty job.
And
he
Avanti doesn't either, right? He immediately
doesn't.
says, "Not the kid. I won't
He
do
says
it."
not the kid. Who else says not the children? Who's not refuses to kill children? Tony
Tony
Montana.
Montana, yeah.
And so he tells her, okay, take her to the militia 1776, and they'll take care of it. You remember that's what they were called, 1776.
Yeah.
Which is obviously the year of the United States was established. And when he takes her there, he regret he gets the person there, or the person in this militia, obviously is a white supremacist. He's one of the guys, some kind of, I don't know, like a redneck.
Honestly, let's put it this way: he is in some sort of military-like garb. He is in fatigues, but with all the tattoos, he looks more like a member of the Aryan nation who has just been released from prison.
Exactly.
Certainly not an instrument of not a traditional instrument of governmental power. Let's put it this way.
Exactly. And he tells him something like some kind of slur. Do you remember what he tells him? This guy tells Avanti.
What he calls Avanti? I don't exactly remember. Do you remember?
Yeah, he says something like, I can say it's like something like carriage burner or something, like throw, which is a throwback to the Wild West, the Indians.
Yeah, of course.
Burning carriages. So when he does that, Avanti shoots him, right?
Right. But I think you are right. I think it's originally, beyond, like, it's not the personal insult that gets him into action. And I'm so glad.
Right.
I'm so glad you also did that parallel between, once again, Tony Montana and Avanti, when, not the children, not the kid. Because again, he embodies this ambiguous zone of morality, right? He's certainly not a noble character by any means. He is a mercenary. He does a lot of dirty work that involves not only finding and apprehending people, but certainly eliminating them, because you are not going to just approach him to give him a contract if he hasn't performed that kind of job for you before.
Yeah.
So he's a killer, make no mistake about it. But even the killer has his boundaries. Even he has, even the bad guy has his particular view on the world that pushes him, that propels him to act in honorable ways, and that's what he does. He's sitting in his car, kind of crestfallen, and feeling bad about what he just did by surrendering the girl to the hands of these people. The more, a couple of them walk in, and he knows what is going to happen to the girl if he doesn't act. So he goes in to take her away, and obviously they're not gonna let him anyways. So in the process, he also shoots them, and he dies, right? So that's the other thing, right? He's given, even though he is a scoundrel in so many different ways, he's still given an honorable death, so to speak, in the movie, right? He falls while trying to rescue someone who is pure, precisely because she's just a child, first and foremost.
he redeems himself because
Absolutely.
he is the one who captures the person who opens up and says where Bob and Willa live in
Mhm.
the radio operator. So in a sense, he redeems himself. It's a redeeming act,
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
also him being a Native American and then being Aryan Brotherhood, calling himself Militia 1776, some kind of historical I don't know again what's the term for it, but there's something else here going on.
Payback,
And
some settling of accounts. I mean,
a
I think
payback,
we can say that.
a payback, yeah, settling of accounts. That's what I want to say.
But it
Uh,
is like, I like the Wild West reference there. Cowboys and Indians kind of setting in that particular encounter where, um, again, we are given, especially on the side of the native, um,
mhm,
a very complex person at the end of the day,
yeah,
right? We are not given this Enlightenment notion of a noble savage, right? He's not simply a virtuous man who goes in to rescue, the innocent child. Uh, in fact, up until that point, he is the main reason that that child is endangered. But like you
mhm,
said, he steps in, he acts, he and in that, he's pitted uh, again with someone who addresses him racially, and he ends up killing and getting killed in that encounter, and that completes Avanti's redemption arc, so to speak. I think very,
yes.
very profound the way you have drawn that out. This.
Mm, and I just want to now we are, as I said, we are in the American West. Like we are out of the city, we are out of the suburb, right? And out of suburbia. We are
We're in the
right now
desert.
in the desert. This is some type of Western, the American West, Manifest Destiny. Let's go into that, like the car chase and everything related to it.
Um, Obviously, again, that's why it is my favorite Paul Thomas Anderson movie. But also, that's also why I think, um, my mind made the connection immediately with There Will Be Blood, as
Hmm.
well, because again, that is, um, set uh, in the American Southwest. Again, that's a movie I watched some time ago. It's not fresh in my memory, but as far as I know, it is set in the Californian oil boom. So still not the South necessarily, not exactly the Wild West, but still the American West very much. So the same setting, so to speak, and I very much got that feeling again that we are exploring some of these historical tensions that constitute the social fabric of this country, right? We already had within that setting, a face-off between the Native American and the white militia. Um, what else did you see in that depiction of the West?
So talking about I'm thinking about the car chase, everything like
Mhm.
going from there's a scene where Bob shoots at he sees Lockjaw and his daughter, and he shoots towards the guards, and this begins like a phase of a car chase. He looks for the Lockjaw. So from that scene on, um, I feel like we are in a like there's no law. Okay, it's like a battle of power. Who's more powerful,
Mhm.
right? And it's like the scene of the west, not the west, the wild, the desert, right? is it's like a perfect it's a perfect setting, right, for that battle of powers, which we also in the later on. Also, I'm also wearing a Lacoste right now because the one of the Christmas adventurers, if you remember, the guy who recruits Lockjaw, he's an assassin for them, right?
Right.
And he
So,
wears a Lacoste. So,
and a Rolex, by the way,
uh,
which I glimpsed by the Oyster bracelet, though I wasn't, in one watch when I can't freeze the frame. Obviously, I wasn't quite able to identify it specifically. But I do want to go back to something you said about the Wild West again. Very, very perceptive in the way that it is, at least in this filmic imagination, a zone outside of the law, right? Where it's pure power. Um, mano a mano. There's no one else that intervenes. Again, they are not. Neither Willa nor Bob, and by the way, not Lockjaw himself is actually tracked down by a legal manifestation of power, right? People are not afraid of Lockjaw because he abuses his power, laying siege an entire city just for his personal agenda. He's being chased down by this Lacoste wearing mercenary, Lacoste wearing, Rolex carrying mercenary, because he needs to be eliminated for being racially impure and lying about it. And again, the Willa is being tracked down again because she is the product um, of racial miscegenation, and it's carried out by this mercenary. They're not being tracked back, and they're not in danger of being apprehended, Bob and Willa, for being affiliated to a revolutionary organization, to French 75, and for what they have done in the past. But precisely, they are in the process of potentially being eliminated for themselves being racially impure. So like you said, we are not talking about legal power here. We're not talking about the legal execution of governmental power here. We are operating in a zone where we just have power. Like you very meaningfully said in the beginning, unnamed, unidentified, raw, mercenary, militant power that is executed by one man against another, which, again, the movie kind of upsets our expectations there. Should we already come to that end point, or do you have something else to add about our mercenary?
you made a very good point about like they are being hunted for the I would say the crime against the ideology, right? In this ideological desert. And I would just again I'd like to think back to again, like I'm thinking about the Nazi regime, okay, the original, the OG, okay, like they went so far, and why they went everywhere they could in order to root out and exterminate their so-called enemies, right? In this, like I'm thinking of Jews, okay, but obviously other, gypsies, and like they will really rent. They did anything they could to get to their enemies, the ones they deemed enemies. And
Mhm.
in that sense, again, I'm thinking again of the Nazis, and um, they how they get to the assassin, right? He goes to the desert, and he tracks them down. It really, yeah. Look at the guy. I mean, he's scary, dude. Like there really something about you know appearance wise,
But
and that's not. Mhm.
the funny thing is, he's scary, not in the way that, like, he has some sort of almost physical deformity, or this maybe rugged and kind of militant like appearance or anything. I think he is precisely scary because it's just some preppy Lacoste wearing white dude with a name as generic as Tim Smith, who is who is just a contract killer. He's
Yeah.
scary in the way that the hitman character is scary, right?
Yes.
You might, again, at least that guy has a bald head and a strange barcode on the back of his head, so it's like that's a little different. But coming back to it, this guy is menacing because
Yeah.
in many ways he's just the everyman if you
Yeah.
don't know what he's doing.
Yes. And yes, that's and the everyman is the one who ends up, you know, uh, being the perpetrator of the crime. In this case, against Willa and Bob, okay, or Lockjaw, but no, Lockjaw is not the victim here, but uh, is the everyday man, and that's that's a good point. Yeah, let's look at some photos. It's a good idea. You see,
Yeah, I love how, again, when in one of the most serious and action-packed acts of the movie, this guy looks like Big Lebowski. That and that's what is so amazing about also, I think, Leonardo DiCaprio's performance. And I'm not just lionizing him because he's a fellow Rolex guy, uh,
hmm,
but because I rate him so much as an actor. But, like, through it all, he um, puts together such a marvelous performance in expressing the unstable but also very caring and idealistic mental state of this guy who is mostly exhausted, mostly brain fried, mostly burnt out, but
and
still,
heartbroken.
yeah,
He's
it's
heartbroken.
heartbroken, right? Because he's left alone, left behind by his beloved. Um, but again, looking this comical, um, looking this absurd, it's his raw talent that really gives us this compelling idea about a father who, with his last wherewithal, tries his best to rescue his daughter, to which it she's everything to him. He
Yeah.
has literally nothing else left, right? And we learn that specifically when uh, they are being tracked down, they are being hunted, and he has to call the hotline of French 75, and he doesn't remember shit. He doesn't remember any of the codes, any
Mhm.
of the slogans.
What is the time? What time is it?
Yeah, what time is it? He doesn't remember that. which, by the way, is the biggest slogan of it all, of course, because apparently the proper response is, it is, what is it? It is,
something about it. It's a construct, not in a word like in a paraphrasing, but it's some kind of construct or something.
right here.
Yeah.
What time is it? It doesn't exist yet, but it controls us anyway. That's apparently the proper response. And again, like, this is like revolutionary ideology 101. Like, it's almost messianic, right? That we are working towards this new sense of time, towards this new world that is not within our grasp, that we certainly don't inhabit just yet, but it has to guide us, right? That future unrealized reality has to dictate what we do today, how we must act in the present. Very powerful. But again, it's just reduced to this rage of some random guy talking to a customer service person on the phone, right? In so many ways, Bob is also, I mean, Bob, what kind of fucking generic name is that, right? He is also the everyman, right? Yes, he is trying to find his daughter by cracking that code so they would finally give him the location of the rendezvous place. But through it all, he just looks like some random old dude who is frustrated with customer service because they charged him $15 extra and he's trying to reverse that charge, or that he's, Amazon shipped him the wrong box and he's trying to get a refund. Like, that's how he's acting. Like, he could care less about those political slogans that dictated his life more than a decade back. He just wants to get to his fucking daughter. He wants to make sure she's safe.
Yeah. It's a good again, great performance by
Sensei.
Benicio del Toro. Yeah.
I also love when, again, Leonardo DiCaprio gets into that mode of proselytizing in Spanish and saying all these, like, spouting off these revolutionary slogans. He cuts him down to size, saying, like, this is the Gringo Zapata, when he's introducing him to his family and to his friends.
Yeah.
Gringo Zapata. That's what he calls Bob. Going back to our killer, I'm gonna pull up his name. Do you want to remind us what happens?
Well, he is in pursuit of Lockjaw, and he is what's he's armed with what is it? Like one of those. I don't know what's the name of it. It's like a small shotgun with 2 barrels. It's something pretty.
I think it's like a sawed-off shotgun. I'm not really a gun guy, but
I think it's a sort of shotgun, which is, by the way, it's, in my word, it's like related to mafia. That the mafia, the old school mafia, uses this type of shotguns. So yeah. Anyway, he takes a he takes a good shot at Lockjaw, and we believe that he eliminates him because Lockjaw loses control. He gets shot, loses control, and crashes by the side of the road. And from there on.
But again, that's also beyond mafia. Also, it's again, it's not a precise kind of instrument, right? Bob himself has a rifle, and he tries to snipe down Lockjaw, right? That's a more militaristic kind of operation. Um, an assassin of this kind, of Tim Smith's kind, might carry some sort of pistol. That's not it either. Like, that if it's a shotgun, like we remember, sold off or not, it's, again, it puts us in the mindset, in the ethos of the American West, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of kill or be killed, and it's not like a surgical strike, but kind of a scattershot approach of
Good point.
eliminating as much or as many of the enemy as you possibly can in one fell swoop.
And that's a great point. And also, he's shooting him as they're both speeding on a highway, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not, they're in very fast cars, but you can think about them riding horses.
Right.
It's
They come next to each other, and like, he kind of
yeah.
honks, gets his attention, rolls down the window,
Yeah.
shoots him. And by the way, while all of this is happening, Leonardo DiCaprio's character, Bob Ghetto Pad Rocketman, he's in pursuit of Lockjaw himself.
Mhm.
He gets to the car, discovers that the girl is not there, that Willa is not there. So he turns around and goes in the other direction, where Tim Smith is chasing Willa, who is now in the car she inherited from Avanti.
Avanti, yes, and that's
In the steed, I should say,
Enter
perhaps she inherited.
what?
In the horse she inherited from
Yeah.
from Avanti.
So enter one of the best chase scenes I've seen lately. I'm sure you'll agree. Car chase scene, beautifully shot. Like there's these slopes. What? How do you call it? Like the
Yeah. Exactly.
vegetation, like the way of the road goes up and down, up and down. There's a use of sound where you see the car, when you see the car, the chasing car of the Tim Smith,
Yeah.
then you hear the engine roaring. But when he's down, you don't hear it. And there's something, I don't know, I thought about Hitchcock, and I don't know, Spielberg, all kinds of directors who are like, he's taking influence from, like, I don't know, just it was a very powerful scene. Like, I was on the edge of my seat. I believe everyone else were.
Absolutely.
Very good scene. And it builds up. It's a long scene. It builds up very nicely.
Yeah. And also, again, it's more than a traditional car scene too, because it's not just one following the other. There are four, at some point at least, four cars at play, where, like, they are not all, well, they're mostly not aware of each other's intentions either, right? Because, I mean, a standard car chase in a film is one man running after another with a very specific purpose. Here, Lockjaw thinks that he has handled his business. He's just driving back. Tim Smith is after him and Willa. Bob is just looking for Willa, and Willa is just trying to make an escape. And she only discovers after the fact, after Tim Smith has already eliminated Lockjaw, that she is still being followed by someone who is trying to get rid of her.
Yeah.
So it's like you said, it's very it's one of the, it's like the training montage and Rocky, right? So there's the bullet car chase scene, which is kind of like the archetype, yes. But at the end of the day, there's so many more moving pieces to this, that makes it, I think, very compelling as a scene, as a final act for this particular movie. That, I mean, I completely agree. I'm not an expert on the car chase in the movies. I have to tell you that, but it was certainly one of the best I've seen in recent time.
And yeah, and I'm not an expert either, but what Willa ends up doing when she's chased by Tim Smith is something that I don't recall seeing in the movie. Like her solution, right, is to stop the car, right, and go ambush Tim Smith, and it plays out very nicely. Like because he doesn't see, he has the slopes, and then when he gets up from the slope, the car is stopped, and he gets into it, crashes into it, and she gets she understands he's a foe, he's not a friend, he's a foe, and she shoots him, right? Maybe we have a photo here of it.
I'll try to find her, but this is Bob.
A little bit after that,
yes. Yeah, but please.
A very tenseful scene. This also was. I was afraid that maybe he'll get shot as well. Thankfully, he didn't. But,
yeah, because again, Willa shoots him down, discovering again that he's no friend, because she spits out this first part of a French 75 code speak. He doesn't respond, so he gets shot once. She repeats it. He doesn't respond and tries to reach for his gun. This time she shoots him down. And when Bob approaches her, she actually does the same thing. Although this time she's not so quick on the trigger, but she, again, sounds out the first part of the code. And once again, like, Leo is clueless. Like, he doesn't know. He doesn't give a shit. He's her father. But
yeah,
that's the thing, right? That the poor girl's world is so shaken, so shattered at that point, that she discovers, first of all, that her biological father is someone else, and a very reprehensible man at that. That she knows not only as a persecutor of her mother and the entire organization, which includes her father, but someone who is also deeply unpleasant in his personal interactions with her as well. So her entire world is shaken. So even to the guy who has taken care of her entire life on his own, she shouts in this revolutionary slogan. He can't respond, and there's this moment, like you said, we are like, what? Is she gonna shoot him too? Possibly.
There's some teenage angst there, because she also finds out that her father is this fucking lockjaw, right? But she also finds out that her mother was a snitch.
Yeah.
And this father, like Bob, hasn't told her that. She was sure that her mother is some kind of hero who died, right?
Yes.
In the battle for the freedom. So
it's like kind of Ben Kenobi telling Luke Skywalker, your father was killed by Darth Vader, whereas Darth Vader is his father.
And the thing about the code, I just want to say, it's a good point you brought up about, Tim, that guy, the Lacoste guy, doesn't know, though he gets shot. But if we think back to the Bob doesn't know the code, with the time, he ends up when he ends up getting the rendezvous point, not from remembering the code, but talking to somebody else on the phone, right?
Yeah.
But in this, so in that, if we look at that, we can say, the codes are not that important. But here, in this very important moment, he remembers the code. Otherwise, he could have get shot. And I think it's codes are important.
But it's possible. You're right. I mean, again, it speaks to the idea that, again, when he's on the phone, it's really very much like a customer service problem.
Yeah.
Right. So you are absolutely right. In this zone, in this particular instance, again, we were talking about a territory that's outside of law, that is the topos of outlaws. It knowing the code, knowing the right thing to say, suddenly becomes of vital importance. Literally, it's a life and death issue. And we come to the final point. We have done this in a much more extended way than I imagined. Again, my personal apologies, but you understand, when we did Scarface, which also came out, an hour and 20 minutes, I think. That's a movie that we have watched so many times and assimilated in so many ways, and it's easier to talk about it more coherently and in a more concise and succinct manner. Here, again, thank you for indulging us. Thank you for understanding, how fresh it is in our minds and how we are still working through the kind of questions that the movie poses. So thank you for staying along with us on this ride. I've said that the poor girl's, Willa's entire world was taken apart and destroyed, but something happens at the very end of the movie, at the very end of the story, when Bob shares something very special, very important with her, because you said she was in a way betrayed by Bob, betrayed by her real father, because he never really shared the truth about her mother, about how she snitched on the organization and made an escape for it, rather than, say, dying heroically, which was the story she was told. Can you talk a little bit about what restores her faith?
Before that, just to mention that Lockjaw survives the hit on him.
Yeah,
he's disfigured. He's actually a Lockjaw. We see him later, before that scene where we talk about Bob and his daughter. Lockjaw is meeting with the Christmas adventurers. He's disfigured. He lost an eye, and he's accepted, right? He's accepted, but he's not really accepted, and he is executed in a very interesting. Yeah, that's Lockjaw.
that before the disfiguration, of course.
Yes, he gets gassed
and incinerated.
And, yes, which is
No,
very.
it's well, that's again, that's very profound. That's not something that I thought of immediately while I was watching it, but I have been thinking about it with your help since the beginning, because you very explicitly called the Christmas adventurers at the very beginning Nazis. But there's also, again, so many subtle and maybe even unintended references there, because he says, okay, you are accepted, let me show you your office, and it's very funny, right? That, again, there's something comical about it. Like, is this some sort of secret organization that rules United States behind the scenes, or is it like some sort of WeWork kind of situation, where you have a shared office, somewhere you can relax and put your feet up, when you're in the city? Like, what is this, shared working space or sinister extra governmental organization? What the fuck? But the thing that you said there, right? That he thinks he's being accepted. It's like Goodfellas, right? He's led into this room where he's actually executed, But the method of execution is pretty specific. Again, he closes the door behind him once he's in the office. He goes away saying, "Oh, I forgot your key." He's gassed in that room, and then his dead body is incinerated with it, which is, you know, a method of elimination, of course, that has been used most infamously in the Holocaust. So
Yeah.
there's that very specific and strong cultural and historical reference there.
In it's good in Goodfellas, Tommy, he was allegedly going to be made, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to be entered in that room, and there are two men behind him who execute him by a gunshot to the head. And he is shot. He's shot because he committed the ultimate sin in the mafia. He killed the made man, right?
Yeah.
And in the same scene here with Lockjaw, he committed the ultimate sin. He procreated with a black woman, and he lied about it. But he's not executed by a gunshot. He's executed very, I don't know, clean, in a clean sense. But it's also the guy stands behind him, and I thought for a few seconds that he's gonna shoot him, right? But
Yeah.
he says not. They're gonna do it in a clean way.
But again,
Like
the reference was very specific, but also subtle at the same time, because again, PTA, so to speak, Paul Thomas Anderson is not Quentin Tarantino in the way that he almost literally cites, quotes other movies, but he is also very studious. So I'm pretty sure Goodfellas was at least on the back of his mind when this was staged. But you're right. Again, the horror of that execution, and again, they're disposing of a very despicable man, right? There's nothing happens in the entire movie that would present you this guy as human, as someone likable. So he's not to be mourned. There's that. Nevertheless, again, the thing that makes his death quite tragic, and here's the Hebrew poster right away.
Right.
And I chose the previous one because again it depicts that desert scene of the car chase.
It looks like a poster for like a Sergio Leone movie.
Yeah. So speaking of those things, but again, just as we talked about the assassin being so terrifying, precisely because he is the everyman, this execution of Lockjaw is so terrifying because of how clean it is. Because again, being shot is not only dirty, but also in many ways, even when you're shot in the back, it's honorable in a way. You're still being killed by a traditional weapon, and you're being killed in the same way, pretty much, that, or rather in a way that's commensurate with the crime you committed. You betrayed our organization. You betrayed another man, a made man at that. So you will be killed in a way that betrays you, killing you, yes, dishonorably, because you are being executed, but still, with a traditional weapon, in the same way, right? That a shooting squad, a firing squad as an execution, it's a military way, right? That's how you execute, people who fight for their country. Yes, they're defeated. Yes, they're losing. Yes, all of these things, but it's still quote unquote an honorable mode of execution. Here, it's so much more terrifying, so much more scary, because it's clean, because it doesn't leave a trace behind, and because it is so unconventional in the mode of eliminating political opponents, except, right, this is something that is used, historically in one of the biggest genocides of the 20th century, but also, the similar methods of execution, I think, have been historically used. Again, I'm not a lexicon for that necessarily, but perhaps still in the books in some American states. I know that they have executed people before by gas.
Yeah,
I don't know if it is still in the books with any states in the U.S. But let me quickly check. But go ahead if you have any points to add.
The thing is that this execution, like again in the Holocaust, but most of them, by the point, only when they were inside the showers, so to speak, then they understood that they're not going to get a shower. And in this, yeah, right, again, a whole different. But Lockjaw was not. It's not. It was a covert execution. You understand? Like when Tommy entered the room and he saw that it was empty, it was supposed to be full of wise guys. Then he understood. He says, "Oh, and then he gets shot." But Lockjaw didn't know that he was going to get executed. Like it's so it's clean, as you said. It's yeah.
So we are coming to the very last part. We have said Willa's world came unstuck. She's completely devastated, but her father does something at the end which restores her faith in the world. What is it that he does?
Well, he gives her a letter from her mother, Perfidia. But you will have to jog my memory about the contents of the letter itself. It's about what we are doing, the battle that we are fighting, the battle, another battle. But yes, if you can tell us what the letter reads.
I'm trying to perhaps find the text of it, so please continue while I try to.
I do remember that it's about like changing or trying to change the world, right? Like and like in the end, Willa is a resistance member. She joins the French 75 or whatever it's called at that point, and she continues the tradition of her parents, right?
Yeah.
And so like it's a good ending in the sense that I guess like they keep trying to change she's the new generation is trying to change the world for the better. If we agree that it's better, I mean, we agree that it's better because Nazis are bad, even though she doesn't even know that she's fighting the Nazis in the end. But anyway, it's an interesting, it's a good way, I think. Like it's a good ending, in a sense.
Unfortunately, I haven't found the text, but yes, I think the most, beyond expressing her regrets and hoping that they would reunite someday, beyond providing that sort of closure, or beyond simply presenting an apology, what she does in the letter is like, you summarized it really well, actually, whether you remembered the exact wording or not. Will you try to change the world? We have failed, right? So that's I think the most meaningful part of that letter. Again, I'm not sure if that was the exact wording, but more or less. And that's what propels her again, because the very last scene, finally Bob has a phone, and she's allowed to have a phone as well, because they didn't want to be tracked before. which means that they have some sense of security and safety now, which is great. And while Bob is trying to take some sort of stupid selfie for God knows what, probably being a dirty old man like we are. But they hear, I think, from some sort of newscast, again, I don't remember the details, that there's a protest going on in Sacramento, which is apparently 3 hours away.
Yes.
And Willa gets onto her feet immediately, puts on a coat, runs to the door, and you see Bob being much less worried about the situation. He does say, take care of yourself or be careful. And she says, I won't. And he doesn't freak out, right? He just lets her go. We're left with the idea that she is in many ways like her mother, but she has failed. So Willa has to carry perhaps similar ideals using different means, which is like a form of, as it suggested, peaceful protest.
Yeah. So she says we failed, and you take the torch from us and continue bearing it for the future. So found it to be a good ending, compared to other endings in PTA movies, like Boogie Nights, for example.
No, you're absolutely right. It wasn't very detailed. It wasn't romanticized because of how silly Leonardo DiCaprio manages to make Bob look. But it is a positive ending. But again, I think there's so much to be commended in the movie. The director, in so many ways, is the biggest star. I'm sorry to say, but or not sorry, but certainly, Benicio del Toro's performance as Sensei, Tiana Taylor as Perfidia, Chase Infinity as Willa, Sean Penn as Lockjaw. Even whatever we might think of a certain flatness or caricature-like appearance that is given to the character, I think it's not easy to so thoroughly render a character so unlikable.
I want to explain myself. What I said is that the character is, in my opinion, flat. Okay, because it was written to be flat. The way he depicts the character is great. Like it's very great performance, right? Just we don't get to see anything behind that character. That's the intention. That's what I thought. And it's good.
Again, as I said, that at the end, even though he is killed by the most terrifying means, we can't mourn him, really, right? That you don't feel bad at all about this guy, because he has not shown us anything likable, not a facet of personality that makes him feel relatable, and that in itself is a great performance. But ultimately, I think Leonardo DiCaprio did great in, imagine, again, in his maturity, he has become someone who provides comic relief. I don't think I have ever imagined that I would see him in that kind of role. That he is both the lead, but also comic relief in what is, in so many ways such a serious movie, but in others such a lighthearted touch on a very American story.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Very good.
I mean, I think with with this tone, we can go on for 10 more hours, I think, but we have to
Yeah.
stop somewhere. So let's, for the sake of some who might watch this show after the
Mhm.
fact, after they have watched the movie themselves, we will
Mhm.
leave it there. Please hit the like button. That's the most important thing. Please show your appreciation for the kind of work that we put in here. Again, very serious work, but also we managed to have some fun along the way. So thank you so much.
Thank
If you
you.
have if you have followed us from Instagram, please subscribe here. Please subscribe, and this, you're a moderator in my chat too. Please drop a link to your um, channel, to your YouTube
Oh,
channel,
good.
or any other platform you like.
Yeah, I'll just drop it now.
And please subscribe to This's channel as well.
Okay, done. Thank you.
Uh, any last points or that you want to add, things you want to share, stuff you want to plug?
Actually, I just the soundtrack. It was done by Johnny Greenwood, I think. Right? He's from Radiohead. I'm not sure. I didn't like it really much. Actually, it was a lot of strings and stuff. I didn't.
Mhm.
But I didn't. I mean, it didn't affect the like the viewing for me. But I don't know. I would have preferred something else. But that's But the prior films soundtracks by PTA, like okay, specifically Boogie Nights, were so much better. Uh,
Yeah,
something about
yeah. I
that.
don't have.
Yeah,
Quite honestly, I don't have anything positive or negative to say about the soundtrack, which already says something. I think,
yeah,
again, I'm usually not oblivious to soundtracks. Um,
yeah.
I think they're actually a very important part of the movie. In this movie, I don't remember being guided, um, being excited,
Mm-hmm.
becoming emotional. I don't know anything. I
Yeah,
don't remember any affect in relation to the soundtrack. So
that says something. Yeah.
I think so. Again, maybe the fact that it made itself quote unquote invisible or uh, you know unheard was
Mm-hmm.
something intended. Who knows? Maybe that was PTA's vision. Uh, I'm not in his head, but yeah, I don't find it particularly memorable. That's all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's it. That's all I have to say. Thanks for having me,
Hey,
young man.
it's a pleasure, and I'm honestly I'm looking forward to you returning again. I'm sure
Yeah.
we will have a great time discussing so many more movies together, um, and maybe sooner than later. Right? Let's not make this another 2-year hiatus.
Yes, definitely. Yes, that's sure. 100%.
All right. So at the movies, we'll return. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, watch movies, and enjoy your watches. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah. See ya. Bye.